Hey guys, it's been a minute, and I thought I would. These days I haven't been in the mood to talk, but I saw this interview with Emma Grede and the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, yesterday and today. I watched twice, and I really liked the interview, so I thought I would talk about that a little bit today, as I was going about my other sort of responsibilities. I'll be just walking in Paris today because I've got to go to central Paris to take care of some stuff. So I thought, okay, why don't you sort of multitask, talk about the interview, and you know, yeah, that kind of stuff. So it's been a minute, as I've said. Sussex squad. I hope you guys are doing well. So yeah, did you see the interview with Meghan and Emma, which dropped yesterday, I believe? I saw it yesterday when there were only about 300 comments, and today I watched it a second time. There were 7,000 comments, and it looked like Emma had gained about I want to say 3,000 subscribers just between, 24 hours of Meghan appearing. So that's really impressive. And, yeah. So it was the entrepreneur more than the Duchess in this interview with Meghan. I mean, it was the entrepreneur that showed up, more than, say, the Duchess, if you will, although she's all of those things, obviously. But it was the entrepreneur side that was, so, interesting, so riveting, so compelling. And I've noticed in the comments that, the haters were there, spreading their negativity as well, which is one of the reasons why, in this sort of period of my life where just so much is going on in my own personal life, as you may know if you've been following even remotely in my on my channel. I have my own things going on, so I haven't really had time to do any research on a lot of these stories about Harry and Meghan as I would normally do. And even if I do, it's kind of like I don't have the energy to deal with all the negativity and all the haters and just the spam and so on. So I've just been focusing on myself and trying to keep my head above water, and the way at the times keeping my head down and just trying to get done what I need to get done in my own life. But this interview with Emma, because I like Emma, it seems she has this podcast called Aspire, which seems relatively new, and she interviews all these business people and entrepreneurs, which is very, very interesting to me. And she's interviewed people like Gwyneth Paltrow, whom I really admire, and others. And then yesterday, as I said, it was Meghan's turn, so we get to find out a lot of things about Meghan. She sold scrunchies for $1 when she was in middle school. I mean, who knew, right? So that was really interesting. And what else? I wrote down some different things that she said, like, she wanted a platform. Well, not so much a platform, but she, with her business as ever, she wanted to be able to share authentically and organically things that, really interested her. And so that's why she went with as ever and food products and kitchenware and homeware, as opposed to fashion and jewelry, which probably would have been more obvious choices for her. So I thought that was very, very interesting. It's kind of like the whole adage, be true to yourself, and do what you know. And she really likes home life and cooking in the kitchen and so on, which is right up my street as well. I mean, these days all I do are my YouTube shorts. I mean, nobody watches, but it's okay. It's okay. It gives me some quiet time to just just be in my own element, and that's what she likes too, which just makes her my kind of people even more. So some people were talking about Emma's body language, and I guess they were trying to say that Emma was trying to, I don't know, not to expose Meghan, but to, get Meghan to reveal, what they believe to be truths about Meghan. These are the haters, of course. I felt like, in some ways, it was kind of like watching a tennis match of equals, two women who are very accomplished, very intelligent, and, very confident in what they do. And, Emma definitely is a great interviewer, and she wasn't doing any softballs to Meghan. She was really asking tough questions or questions that could certainly elicit scoops, and put Emma's podcast on the map. And Meghan, just held her own. I mean, she was just, coming right back, like she was Serena Williams on a court, and with answers and strong answers and great answers, good answers, logical answers, answers that, really resonate. I just thought Meghan did really well with this interview. And so she talked about, taking as ever global with her partner Netflix, right? Which, I guess we all sort of figured. Here I am in the Ralph Lauren store. Did I mention that it's in Paris in Ralph Lauren? I don't typically go into Ralph Lauren store on in Boulevard in Saint Germain, but I was in the Saint Germain area of Paris today, so I stopped in and I took all these snapshots. Okay, so yeah, Meghan. So one of the things Meghan said that really resonated was that somebody else's urgency is not my urgency, and I really thought that was a really, really important thing that she said, which a lot of us can take to heart and really make that our own policy, is that somebody else's urgency is not my urgency, especially in terms of your business and what you're trying to do. And in Meghan's case, having certain people in the press trying to meddle, to muck up the waters, if you will. And she's like, somebody else's urgency, I'm sorry, it's not my urgency. I thought that was great. So what else did she talk about? I mean, there was so many things she talked about, some of it a little bit, over my head. But she talked about, one word she used was mastige. I like that. I'd never heard that word before, where she basically is saying that her products are not prestige products, they're mastige products, they're for the masses. She wants everybody to be able to afford to buy her jam, her crepes. I can't wait to make a crepe. I have to get a crepe pan. Frankly, I don't have a crepe pan. And things like that. She talked about supply chain and commerce and, just just so many, business concepts really, that some of it, as I said, a little bit over my head. I'm still learning myself in this arena of entrepreneurship. But I was really intrigued when she said to Emma that she doesn't think about failing or failure. And she doesn't really see anything as a failure. She sees it all as a learning experience. And I thought that was really, really great. But she said for her, failure is not an option because she believes in herself and she believes in her potential for success. And I really just thought, wow, this is such a confident human being. It's for her, she said, it's all about mindset, which was like tapping myself on the forehead, like it's got to be about what's in the mind. She says people need to focus on their goals and their intentions. And she also said that negative self-talk is not helpful. She doesn't live a fear-based life. Her faith is always stronger than her fear. I really, really like that, especially at this time in my own life, where it's so easy to get into the fetal position and just be so fearful and afraid and terrified. But instead, you can choose to have faith, and to, just focus on, what you're doing and believing in yourself and focus on your goals. So I really love that. Emma talked to her about imposter syndrome and stuff. I don't think Meghan liked that terminology, imposter syndrome and stuff like that. She said words matter, and, just don't even put that type of word in your mind and talk yourself out of your goals, your dreams, be focused and have a positive mindset. And I totally agree with her. Um, Another thing she said that I really thought was great was that she doesn't feel like she has to explain herself to anybody anymore. And, I'm considerably older than Megan, but I have to say, that's like a lifelong struggle of, you know, being so confident in yourself that you don't feel like you have to explain yourself anymore. And for her to have that, strong conviction that she doesn't feel like she needs to explain herself anymore to anybody is so, so inspirational. What else did they talk about? She talks about, building a heritage brand that is classic and timeless and evergreen, which is just, as an entrepreneur, something that really resonates with me. She talks about, non-frivolous spending, which, I need to do some lessons with that myself, and then in the comments, there were so many negative comments about one person was like, oh, you don't frivolously spend, but you have a $14 million house. And I was just like, a $14 million house is anything but frivolous, you people, you persons. I mean, this is an investment. She may have bought that for 14 million. And now it's worth, at least 24 million. She's made $10 million just on, that investment in 5 years. I mean, that's not frivolous by any definition of the word, folks. Anyway, I just thought it was such a great interview. She referenced the baby mama dance she did, how when she was pregnant with Lily and she was in the hospital room with her husband Harry, they did this dance and everybody was talking about it. Even I saw it, but I didn't really do a video on it because, as I said, I'm really sort of focused behind the scenes on many other headaches and problems and things I'm trying to do. But I saw it, and I thought it was cute, but I also saw there was a lot of negative talk and negative press about it. And she was just like laughing with Emma about it and, just reminding everyone that was like 4 years ago behind the scenes when there was all this noise and everybody had so much to say. And she and Harry are happy with their lives and with their family. And that's another thing too that I've come to realize is Meghan and Harry are fine and they're going to be fine. It's a lot of noise talking constantly every day about every single thing they do and, responding to press and haters. And, it's very draining, that kind of stuff after a while, because behind the scenes, Harry and Meghan are fine. Harry and Meghan are happy. They're living their lives. They're having so much fun. They're dancing. They're having babies, they're building companies and so on. And yeah, the children are fine. They are fine. Their children are fine. I can worry about my own headaches